Hello, Mac here, and today I'm going to talk about why destroying special cargo in GTA Online for the buying and selling missions that were added in Finance and Felony are not worth it, and also talking about how the PvP combat could be improved for these buying and selling missions in GTA Online. So in the Finance and Felony, I'm sure you all know that they added in the buying and selling missions that a CEO can do. And while they can be a bit of fun, there isn't much PvP combat, and there isn't much PvP incentive. So while you can destroy other organizations' cargo, it's really not worth it because all you really get is $2,000 and a bit of ammo. That bit of ammo is probably just compensation for the ammo that you spent destroying the vehicles or the cargo. And overall, it's not really that worth it. $2,000 in GTA Online isn't really that much, especially because you probably already wasted ammo, or you called like a Hydra, which will cost you $200. Maybe, went off the radar or something like that to make it more surprising. And overall, the risk doesn't really outweigh the reward, because let's say you do die and they actually deliver the cargo, you're out, hundreds of dollars that you spent trying to take out the cargo for what? $2,000? It isn't really that worth it. And overall, I'd suggest don't actually try and take out other people's cargo, because really, you probably have a much better time spending that money on buying your own cargo, or trying to do, say, rob a store. That'll give you about $1,000, maybe even a little bit more, and that will be much better than just trying to take out other CEOs' items and stuff. And it's just not worth it, in my opinion, to actually try and take out CEO's cargo. And in this video I want to talk about why I feel that's and in this video I want to talk about how I feel Rockstar could improve that, because it is something that I was kind of hoping for, a bit more PvP combat in free roam with these buying and selling missions. However, that's not really the case in the current moment. So one thing I would love to see is being able to steal another player's cargo. Now what this would be like is, in GTA Online right now, like I said, you can only destroy the cargo. You can't steal it. So what this would do is, if you steal it and you have a warehouse, you'd be stealing the cargo and you could take it to any of the warehouses of your choice, usually the one that you're closest to. So you would take it back to the warehouse, and if you deliver it to your warehouse, you would be able to sell it later. Now, this would also mean that the other people in the session could also steal it and take it to their warehouse and stuff. Now, if you don't have a warehouse and you're just like a lone person, and you don't have an organization, you don't have a CEO status, what you could do is take these items and just try and drive around and wait for other CEOs, or even the CEO that you stole the items from, to give you an offer, which would be a certain price where you can accept it and you could deliver it to their warehouses. So this would sort of put you in their organization, but just for a little bit. So you wouldn't necessarily be an associate, you would just be a person that's delivering items for them. Now they would want to defend you, and they would kind of be friendly to you, and what would happen is they would give you a bit of money. So let's say it was $3,000, $4,000, and they would be able to sell it later, and it would just save a bit of hassle for them, which would, that would be something to think about. And they'd actually be incentivized to do this because they have already spent money on these cargo items. They don't want that to go to waste. And also, if you deliver it to their warehouse afterwards, you would be in passive with them. So for about a few minutes, they would not be able to attack you. This would mean that they wouldn't just attack you on site once you get out of their warehouse, and after you deliver it. I feel like that would be pretty nice. But you'd only be in passive to those players. You wouldn't be in passive to everyone. And also, this would dissuade people from just trying to jet griefing or, getting explosives and just blowing up the thing. While that would still be an option, you wouldn't get as much money as if you stole it, took it to your warehouse, which you'd also have to be pretty accurate on, because you don't want to ruin the cargo. You'd have to just kill the people, and that would mean that you could sell it later for $10,000, even double that price the more cargo you have. So that would be pretty nice, and it would be sort of like a capture the flag type thing where, everybody's trying to go for it, and I feel like that would be pretty entertaining. And also, there would also be a few other strategies, like, hey, do I try and get them into this sort of chokehold area where there I could try and, set up a roadblock or something and just try and kill him there? Or does somebody in my organization, like a bodyguard, does he go off the radar, set up that roadblock while everybody else is chasing him, where they're on the radar? There would be a lot of different strategies with it, and I feel like it would actually be pretty cool to see how these matches play out. It would make it so that less people are just trying to blow up the cargo, because they'd get more money if they just stole it and sold it later, if they actually do take it back to their warehouse. Another thing is, I would love to see competitive warehouse raids in GTA Online. In the sort of newswire post that Rockstar put out on the DLC, on the Finance and Felony DLC, they said that you would be able to steal items and also buy warehouses and stuff like that. And they would said, look out for warehouse raids. And whenever I heard that, I was like, wow, that's going to be pretty cool, right? But then you actually see it in GTA Online, and it's just a few AI members. And while I've never had that happen to myself, I've seen some gameplay of it. It doesn't seem that difficult. It honestly just looks like, oh, great, a few AI spawned. I think it's like 10 AI. I have to head back now to my warehouse and kill them. And really, there's not much risk there. The AI aren't that difficult, quite honestly. Or at least they don't seem that difficult. And it doesn't seem like there's actually that risk that, hey, I may actually lose some items here. And that would be kind of nice if there were competitive raids. Now, I know what some of you are already thinking. Oh, well, this is going to be overpowered. I don't want to have to, deal with that. And I feel like there are a few balancing things that could go on with this. So, I want to talk about how I feel these warehouse raids could work. And I want to talk about that right now. So, first off, to do a warehouse raid, the organization you're trying to attack cannot be in a VIP work mission. They can't be in a free mode event. They can't do any of that. This would mean that if they're already doing, say, hostile takeover or executive search or something, they don't have to go away from that. So you'd have to wait until they're in their free time, basically. So to attack the warehouse, first you need to steal supplies to get into the enemy warehouse. These would be something like explosives or hacking tools or whatever, and you would have to steal those to get into the warehouse. Now, after stealing these supplies, the defending organization would be notified by their assistant that hostiles will soon attack their warehouse, giving them time to head towards the warehouse to defend it. Now, the defending organization will now be off the radar, but only to the attacking organization. This would make them a little bit more stealthy and make this a little bit more tense for the attacking organization, because they'd have to guess, is this car behind me, is that the defending organization trying to kill me with these supplies? Now, if they die while having the supplies, which the supplies won't be that far away from the warehouse, so it's kind of unlikely that they'll die during it. But if they are stealing the supplies and the hostile organization that is defending kills them, then they would lose and not gain anything from it. So then once the attacking organization gets to the warehouse, they would have to hack into the warehouse gate. And then there would be the hacking minigames that you see in like heist missions, sightseer, stuff like that. And 3 hacks would need to be completed before you can get into the warehouse. So I'm sure all you guys know what the hacking minigames are. So you'd have to hack into those. And the bodyguards, you'd also want bodyguards for these warehouse raids, because the bodyguards would defend you, because you're pretty much a sit-in duck for anybody to kill you while you're doing the hacking minigame. This would also give further time for the defending organization to get to the warehouse, which is kind of my main concern. I don't want it to be super easy for the attackers to just get right in easy, and I feel like this would be pretty nice to help that out. Now, if the CEO dies before they get inside the warehouse, then the mission is failed. However, the associates have respawns, but it would be sort of like Heist, where all the respawns are shared. So maybe you'd get about 3 respawns. So that'd be for your entire organization. However, the CEO dies, then the mission is failed right then and there. Now, once the attacking organization gets into the warehouse, then they'll have 2 options once they're inside. They could either destroy the cargo by planting explosives in predetermined spots, which causes the defending organization to lose about 20% of their cargo. Now, that 20% would depend on what warehouse it is. So if it's small, that 20% would maybe be a little bit higher because there's less cargo overall. But if it's a large warehouse, then it'd be a little bit less. probably more towards 15 or something like that. So the percentage, I feel like, would have to be a little bit balanced. I haven't put too much thought into that. Like, would, this percentage work? I'm not sure on that. But, just think if you do want to change up that percentage, then I feel like they could overall. But that would be losing 20% of their cargo. They'd also have to get outside before they could blow it up so that they don't kill themselves and fail in the mission. So they'd have to go outside, get to a pretty safe spot. Now, they could also maybe do a little bit of a hacking or some sort of minigame while you're trying to plant the explosives. So, you'd have to, like, arm them or something by, I don't know, doing some minigame. I feel like that could work out as well. So that there's a little bit more time, because you could probably just go inside, plant the explosives. It would probably take you a little bit of time, maybe about 10 to 20 seconds to plant each explosive, and there would be probably about 3 or 4 explosives. So your bodyguards would have to defend you, and that would be pretty good. Now, destroying the cargo would not reward the attackers with that much money. Maybe about 5 to 10k, something like that, which really wouldn't be that worth it. However, you would get a bit of RP, because I feel like that kind of makes sense. You destroyed a warehouse, or destroyed a lot of cargo in the warehouse. That would kind of give you a little bit of reputation. Now, the only way they would get money from doing this is if they get asked by a competitive buyer. I feel like this would be a pretty cool system if they get asked, the associate would call you on the phone and go, hey, there's this competitive buyer that wants you to go take out these supplies. The story behind that would be, well, there's a competitive buyer, maybe he doesn't like this organization too much, they never sell to him. I feel like that would be pretty cool, and that would be how they get a little bit of money. I'm not sure the exact price that you'd get, maybe about 20k, something like that. So the other choice that the CEO has is to steal the cargo by heading to the computer inside the warehouse, the computer that the defending people that own the warehouse, they would sell their items there. They would get into that computer and call a mule. Now, once they call the mule, they have to take the cargo, which is about 30% of the warehouse. Of course, like I said, this would depend on the size of the warehouse. The percentage would depend on that. And they would have to deliver it to their warehouse and sell it later for a profit. They wouldn't get any immediate money for this, maybe a little bit of RP, but they'd have to sell it later for a profit. Now, if the vehicle gets destroyed or taken back by the defending CEOs, then the mission has failed for the attacker. Also, if the attackers do fail the mission, then they will get a penalty and they will sell for 50% less for the next couple days. So this is the selling of cargo whenever they're doing their own warehouse. Now, the sort of story behind this is that the buyers sort of, they find them less trustworthy because, well, they failed. They tried to, take out this warehouse and steal some items from other CEOs and other organizations. They get a little less trustworthy. It'd also be a little bit of balance between, like, oh, do I want to attack these guys? Maybe if we die, then I won't be able to sell for that as much money in the next couple of days. Now, if the defenders win without the vehicle getting destroyed, then they would get they would get a good amount of money, about 35k, something like that. Yeah, I feel like that would be pretty nice overall, and that's what I would like to see with the competitive CEO stuff. I hope that this wouldn't seem too overpowered or too easy for the attackers. I don't want that to happen too often, but it would be an option by rival VIPs and rival CEOs to try and steal or destroy best organization in the game or in the lobby. Overall, I was kind of disappointed by the money that you get for destroying other people's cargo, and I kind of hate how it's only destroying other people's cargo. So let me your thoughts in the comments. Would you like to see this? Do you think that we don't need that at all? Do you think that there shouldn't be any incentive at all to try and take out other people's cargo or steal it? Let me your thoughts on that in the comments. Hope you enjoy. Feedback is appreciated. I'll see you guys in the next video.